welcome back to the Track Limits podcast. Henny and I in the studio today. We are missing Mikey and Fevin. Hope they're having a great time in Italy.
We'll see them soon.
We will see them soon. We're very excited. But Henny, Max Verstappen today did not have the fastest car.
No.
And despite that, won.
Yeah, we finally are seeing his brilliance. I think it was a great race. Honestly, the first, when they all three took off, I was like, you know what? I don't know if Lando's going to squeeze him out. I mean, they also investigated it.
Yeah.
And then George Russell, man, honestly, one of the best starts I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was beautifully well done. And then Lando, I think he has a lot of scars from starting in the front, getting into that sandwich issue, and honestly, he played it safe. I honestly don't blame him. Yeah, I don't blame him at all. And then Max is like, this is my only moment. I don't have the best car. If I have any way of winning this race, it is to take George Russell on the next lap. Yeah. And what an overtake. Yeah. Oh, it was so beautiful. Yeah. I wish we saw a different camera angle than they were showing it live, because it was like that side sweeping one where it was like so zoomed in, you can't really see if they came in contact or not. Yeah. And then they showed the replay. I was like, that was beautiful.
Well, it was clear that Max knew that he had to get by.
Yeah.
And when someone like Max wants to get by, they will get by.
Yeah.
Like, he's so committed to that move, and it's cool because you also saw a similar battle between Norris and Russell, which lasted even longer than right, where Russell did let go. Yeah. They were a couple switchbacks back and forth, but I think Max obviously got a little bit lucky in terms of everyone battling for that P2.
Oh yeah,
everyone wasting time, right?
Gave the gap. But it's also the McLaren. Yes, it is the best car on the grid right now, but in dirty air, it does struggle.
Sure.
Where I think Red Bull still has that edge on them. That in dirty air, I shouldn't say Red Bull. I should just say Max.
Yeah.
Checo was in dirty air. I'll give him that. I'll give him that. But Checo was in dirty air, and he pretty much didn't do much other than he qualified P8, got the grid penalty to P11, finished in P8. Yeah. Rightfully so. But Max is just, I don't know, man. He's just a brilliant driver. Yeah. There's not much you can say about him. Yeah. Where we've talked last year, we're like, oh, he has the best car on the grid. There's no competition. Yeah. This year we're seeing it. Yeah. He doesn't even have the best car, and he's pulling this car to his extreme. Yeah. And it's fun to see. This is exactly what we wanted, and we're seeing it now. And I'm enjoying this race. I want Max to win this way. Yeah. Not 20-second gap, not 15 seconds. 2.5, 2.2 at the end. That's what we want.
And the beauty is, even to see Lando, for example, like, the McLaren can come alive at will. Yeah. Like, he can literally go and say, I'm going to keep my tires, I'm not going to degrade them that much, and then the minute he sees Max pit, he can go and just blast off. Yeah. And it's incredible to be able to see a driver do that as well.
And it's amazing to even see Lando, instead of when he's on the radio, he's like, guys, I'm going for the win. I'm not fighting here for P2 and P3. Yeah. When was the last time Lando's ever said that? That was fantastic to see McLaren do that. And then I really think this is a topic that we've been talking week after week, where now Red Bull's getting so exposed. Yeah. With re-signing Checo to that second seat. And right now, Max is now finally starting to complain that we don't have the best car. Previous race, he's like, we have the pace, we could still win. Now he's like, well, now I have to put all the craft I have into making this become a drivable number 2 car on the grid, where now Checo is fighting for P8s. Yeah. How are you going to win constructors? Now, how are you going to sell more merch if you're going to end up being P4 in constructors? Yeah. Or bring on sponsors? So I think this is going to be a big year for Red Bull to be like, did we jump the gun on Checo?
I agree with that. And then Mercedes is truly back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we were talking after Canada, we're like, is it a one-off race? But they're back.
No, they're back. They're back. And I think it's exciting to see, because now Lewis is finally getting that energy back. It's like, okay, I still can put up good pace. I know George Russell didn't get the right end of this race with the hard tires, and Lewis came out on the interview and said, we never had the hards on my plan, at least.
I don't think anyone should have had the hards on their plan.
At all.
It didn't perform at all in practice sessions.
It was high degradation. It was slower, way slower than the mediums. So I really don't know why, but they did pit way too early to put on the new softs for them to last the whole race. So I think they were just stuck in that high degradation stage between being at lap, I think what they put lap 35, 36.
Yeah, and Carlos right after.
So there's no way they're going to go 30 laps on that softs. But honestly, it was great to see. I know this week they also had some scandals going on off track with death threats and people do this conspiracy against Lewis Hamilton. I was like, no, it's not a conspiracy. I really think it is a fact that they are prioritizing George Russell. He is staying on and Lewis is not. So why would you?
I think that's reasonable. Look, as long as both guys are given a chance to race fairly, 100%. I think that's fair. Yeah. But I mean, George, you can't take away that start. Like you said, I think it was the best start we've seen all year from a driver. Like to have the gumption to be able to take that outside lane and make it stick. But I mean, Lewis in his cool down room did say that he felt like George was slowing the pack down. You know, and
with the hard tires or
at the very beginning. At the very beginning, he's like, like George was slowing you guys down, right? And like to be fair, Lewis also said that if he had had a better start, he felt like the gap would have been a lot tighter between him, P2 and P1.
That's cocky Lewis talking. I don't know. I like they are back, but I don't think they are on par with the McLarens or the Red Bulls yet.
Are they on par then maybe with the Ferraris?
Yes. Yeah. Especially in tracks like this where it's a real track, and we're going to see it again in Austria and Silverstone. Yeah. I think they are they're within that sandwich of those four top teams. I still think it's McLaren, Red Bull, Ferrari, then Mercedes. Just because Ferrari, I think they had an off weekend. I still think they had pace. They ruined it all in qualifying, and we know how important qualifying is for this race. Yeah. But if they had that stacked in, I really think they would have had a good race too.
It's 2 weekends in a row now for Ferrari. And, obviously Charles out of the car, goes right to Carlos, starts talking to him. Post-interview says, I think Carlos slowed me down. I know he's the home crowd favorite, but I think he just shouldn't have done that to me. And then Fred Vasseur comes out and says he actually doesn't think that Carlos cost Leclerc any positions. Okay. So supporting Carlos, despite him also being an outgoing driver. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I honestly didn't even know that happened in the back end, but that's interesting. I mean, Charles. Okay, so I've seen that Charles said, they were both maintaining their pace near the beginning for tire management. Yeah. But then Carlos had the DRS. So he's like, well, I'm going to optimize this. I have good pace, so I'm going to pass you. I still think Carlos didn't give him enough space. Yeah. When I did watch the replay, he could have left him enough room because he just got squeezed out where he would either go on the grass, he was already on the curb. Yeah. And there was nowhere else for him to go. Yeah. So the top was going to come, but I think it's at the end of the day, Carlos had the move. He completed it. It is his home race. He wants to do something big. Yeah. I mean, let's look at Monaco where Carlos was helping him out. When with Piastri, he's like, hey man, I think he needs to push pace because Piastri's gonna push pace.
Everyone on the internet keeps saying that. Yeah. It feels almost disingenuous for Charles to come back now and over one position too. I don't think anyone could have expected that Ferrari to get onto the podium in this type of race.
And they started and finished the same spot. So he had nothing. He could have said nothing in that interview and avoided all this mishap that's going to happen the following weeks. And the fact that we have a triple header, this is going to be the news talk for the whole week now. Yeah.
And strategy is obviously such a big thing in a race like Barcelona. Yeah. Right? We had Ruth come on in F1 TV, New Edition. We love seeing her there and talk throughout about, what tire choices the teams are making. The undercut was incredibly powerful. I think Joe gained, at one point, a second per lap in a Sauber or whatever whatever. But it's pretty cool to see that strategy in a race like this where you do have 2 pit stops, maybe even 3 in some races in Barcelona, makes such a big difference to the race.
100%. I mean, this is what we wanted for Monaco. Yeah. Imagine how different Monaco would have been. Yes, the first top 6 finished in the same order, but there was so much chaos that happened within the race. Not chaos, but different orders and changes because of the strategy and the pits that Monaco could have been fun if there was mandatory changes, right? Yeah. I know Stefano said he's going to make changes for the next coming years because, he knew it was a horrible race. Yeah. But I think Barcelona showed exactly why pits and strategy can alter the race. I mean, McLaren tried something bold. They tried to go for a long stint and put pressure back on Max. And honestly, if they had 5 more laps, we could have done it. Yeah. He was cutting the gap. But again, it's really nice to see a track like this that doesn't really have entertainment per se, but because of strategy and pits, we were able to see some changes and more pressure for other drivers to do it. Like if Lewis didn't put the softs, he wouldn't have to push on and get that podium. Same with Lando. And Piastri even, he had a quiet race, but he pulled up. Like he went 10 to, he finished 7th?
I think 7th to 8th, 7th to 8th,
But he had a lot of battles in between, right? So it's really good to see. I don't know, what do you think about that?
No, I agree. I mean, I was actually more impressed, just maybe not on George's side of the garage, but definitely on Lewis's side. Some of those pit stops were quick.
Yes, they're getting
2.3, 2 point whatever. And I couldn't believe that Max got a 1.9. But then actually, I think the next pit stop was like a 3.5 or something.
You're like, okay, well, average that. 2.3, there you go.
But I was pretty happy about that. Speaking of Piastri though, I think one maybe saving grace for Red Bull coming out is the fact that Piastri didn't perform as well. 100%. So from a constructor's perspective, Checo and Piastri kind of finishing around the same position didn't make the biggest difference in this weekend. But you're right, going forward, Checo is going to constantly be fighting for P8. I mean, I think we can all expect Piastri to be fighting in the top 5 regularly. It's going to be problematic.
And that's what I mean. Like, even from last year, we're like, Checo's 3/10 unqualifying pace against Max. Well, now we're seeing 7/10, 8/10, and now he's 8th. Like, he's qualifying best at 8 now. Like, that says a lot about that second driver, and you pretty much have Ferrari's way better. A duo. You got the McLaren's better. I was going to say Lewis. Mercedes. Much better duo. I would even give the RB at this point. The two combined is better than Max being on his own.
I concur.
Like, right? So I think it's sad to see as a Red Bull fan knowing what's to come. And it's going to be Max holding this whole team by a thread at this point.
What about the RBs? I mean, for those RB fans out there, I mean, I'm guessing it's a pretty shocking weekend for them. They just couldn't find pace anywhere throughout the entire weekend.
I don't know. I mean, it was a brand new car.
Right?
How does that happen? Like, you're like, we're going to have 2 3/10 with this new upgrade. I mean, minus. I don't know, but that was horrible. I mean, the fact is, both the drivers were like, we pushed to our limits. Like, we thought this was a good pace. And then you look on the scoreboard and you're like,
16th, 17th, whatever it is.
How does that happen? I mean, this is going to be a bad wake-up call, I guess. But it's also kind of crappy that it is a triple header. So they won't really have that much time to figure it out in between. But I think Austria is a good track. Because now it's very different from Barcelona. Very short track, high speed, straights. And I hope they figure it out because, I mean, they look very exciting. With even previous to this upgrade, Montreal, if Yuki didn't spin up near the end, top double points. So I think there's an opportunity for them to keep fighting. But other teams behind them are catching up.
Alpine is now actually a mid-pack team, which is incredible from where they started at the beginning of the year.
I mean, take it in. They brought no upgrades this weekend.
And, take it in as well, Checo had to pass Gasly on the final lap of the race.
I mean, both out-qualified it. Or no, I think Gasly out-qualified it. Oh my god. How? It frustrates me.
That's why I think they were showing, what were they showing at the last lap? They were showing a battle of 2 drivers to see who would get by. Oh no, George versus Carlos. But I was more interested in Perez versus Gasly. I was like, show me that.
I don't get it. But it's fun to see. I mean, this is a team that is going through so much behind the scenes. Leadership, I mean, I really don't even know what's going on.
New investors, right? Technical director being taken out. We don't really know who's at the head, or the helm.
It's a chaos. I mean, they're losing drivers. They've gotten rid of Esteban. Gasly's unconfirmed to resign or leave. So, I mean, they're going through so much and not even bringing upgrades. I think they were as shocked as everybody saying, like, coming into the weekend, they're like, we're probably going to fight for P15, somewhere down there. And then they both make it to Q3s. And they both finish in points. And you're like, wow. And no drama. Between both drivers. I think that's even bigger win. For a race weekend. Both drivers are like, it was a good race. We didn't touch each other. We didn't bicker at each other. There was no team order. Done. This is a win.
I love it. So the next race is Austria. You mentioned that. Technically Canada is our home race, but this really could also be our home race.
And why is that?
Given how many track limits violations are handed out in Austria.
It's coming.
I think that was our thumbnail last year. It was like track limit. And it's going to be a problem. do we expect McLaren to be pretty much fighting for that win again? I'm pretty sure we are, right?
Yeah. There's I think that track
suits them
is
so well.
So perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, if they could control their degradation, then I don't even think Max at his best can win this race.
And Lando's good in Austria. Like, he's traditionally been on the podium.
Yeah.
Even in, I think 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
He's had really strong performances there despite not having the best car.
Exactly. So. No, I honestly don't think this is going to be a real write-off for McLaren. It's going to be I'm calling it as going to be an easy win for McLaren.
Mm-hmm.
I think Max is going to be happy with a P2 finish.
Yeah.
And that's if Piastri doesn't
Yeah.
outperform him,
Yeah.
which I don't think is going to happen, but
yeah.
I don't see anybody else putting a fight. I think Ferrari will have this weird weekend again where they will show pace in practice and somehow disappear in qualifying and then just be in that weird mid-pack again.
Yeah.
And then I really don't know Aston Martin. We didn't talk about them. They're again back on the...
We'll talk about them in a couple more weekends.
Yeah.
We gotta wait.
Upgrades hopefully come in and stuff like that, but...
I agree with you, though. I think first to Lando.
Yeah.
I would say second Max. I mean, third is going to be either Ferraris or Mercedes. Probably the Mercedes, given the momentum they have coming in.
Yeah, I could see George Russell squeezing in.
Yeah.
He has that confidence. I know, again, the Hards screwed up his race. I know he could have finished in that. I honestly thought he could finish in P3 if he put on the softs and followed the same strategy as Lewis.
Yeah.
So honestly, if that car has no drag, again, it depends on what kind of wing they put in the back of that Mercedes.
Yeah.
If it doesn't have drag, then they're getting on that podium.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Anything else? Jack Crawford, F2, good friend of the podcast.
Congrats.
Congratulations, Juan Manuel Carrera.
Yeah.
Robbed, in my opinion, of a podium in the sprint, but gets a podium in the feature race, which is what a great way to be able to show everyone up.
Dude, I mean, those damn racings are coming back.
Yeah, which is great. I love that.
I love it.
But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let us know what you guys are looking forward to most in Austria. We made some pretty bold predictions here. Yeah. I'm curious if you guys agree. Lando, easy win coming in Austria? Let us know in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in the next episode.